sweep. He's close to finalizing the...
He was born and raised to play. Welcome you to Game 3 of the Divisional Series. We're in Seattle, Washington. The New York Yankees needing just one victory to advance to the American League Championship Series. Tonight, the Mariners are hoping the home crowd and Randy Johnson will lift them to a victory. Good evening and welcome, everybody. With Jim Cotter, I'm Brad Musburger. Jim, before we talk about Johnson and the pitching matchup, we've got to go back to that 15-inning run. But so many players and fans have said one of the greatest games they ever watched.
We could talk about that all night. For Mariner fans, only their second game to see their team in postseason, and the Yankees have had many of them, but most will say this was the most exciting playoff game ever. What were the key moments? Was it this Sierra extra base hit to tie the game? It was full of great fielding plays like Diaz to Sojo to Widger to keep it a tie game. Was it the Leyritz home run that we saw to end it? But, Brent, for me, it was this at bat. Paul O'Neill against Norm Charlton. As unhittable as Charlton was, if he doesn't hit that, the series is tied at 1.
But instead, they have left it in the hands of Johnson, who's enjoying one of the greatest years any pitcher's had, well, I guess since Sandy Koufax or Ron Guidry.
He is the premier power pitcher in baseball today. In fact, when the Mariners come to the ballpark on the night that Randy Johnson is pitching, and they say, what night is it? The Mariners say it's win night or win day, because Randy Johnson, as you see him striking out one of the Rangers there, is going to oppose Jack McDowell. He has not picked up a ball and thrown it in earnest in 15 days. Just a little tossing on the side. The key for the Yankees is to find out how that injured back muscle is.
So it's McDowell Johnson. A lot going on. Let's send you now to John Saunders. John?
Welcome once again, everyone, to the Division Series here on ABC. It could be a night of clinchings and a night of sweeps. Each series, 2-0. One team has the lead, including the Indians and the Red Sox. In Boston, the heart of their order, Mo Vaughn and Jose Canseco have lost 12 straight in the postseason. Batted in each for Cleveland. In the National and turned to rookie Hideo Nomo, who led the National League in strikeouts and was number 2 in ERA. The Red Hot Bats of Cincinnati. Hal Morris is hitting .571. In Atlanta, John Smoltz looks to go 6-0 lifetime against the Rockies. He's 5-1 lifetime in the postseason. Dante Bichette trying to break an 0-for-13 streak against Smoltz. He's hitting .625, though, in the series. The Yankees and the Mariners are coming up next. We'll have scores and highlights after this ABC News Brief and a word from your ABC station.
It's action. A couple of months ago, the toughest ticket in this town was Washington against Notre Dame. That all changed when the Mariners marched into the playoffs. Now, this is the hottest ticket in the Northwest. Now, tonight's Budweiser starting lineup for the New York Yankees. And look at all the changes that a left-handed pitcher forces Yankee manager Buck Showalter to make. Randy Velarde moves to leadoff. Bernie Williams stays at second. Mike Stanley, the catcher, will bat third. Ruben Sierra's there. Don Mattingly, who has hit the big unit well. Gerald Williams will go to right field. Russ Davis moves to third. Tony Fernandez still at shortstop. And Pat Kelly at second. You would have to say, Jim Cott, that if you're going to take on the New York Yankees, get a left-handed pitcher out there early and often.
Puts Wade Boggs on the bench as well as Paul O'Neill. As you look at Randy Johnson's numbers, that strikeout-to-walk ratio is so impressive. You have to go back to the days of Sandy Koufax to find someone who strikes out that many more than he walks. Coming off 3 days rest, and his pitching coach Bobby Cuellar said the only difference, he just didn't throw a lot between starts, a little long tossing. His arm is sound, he's ready.
Well, defensively, you can see that the Mariners are a little shaky, especially at second, Jimmy.
Joey Cora led the American League in errors with 23 in that among second basemen, and that's why you see that total. The Mariners infield the most of any team in the American League this season.
Umpiring has been a focus of the first two games, and the man behind the plate, Joe Brinkman, is one of the most deliberate callers of balls and strikes in all of baseball. You'll watch Brinkman stay down very low. Keep in mind that the catcher and the hitter will know before you will, and Johnson's ready to Velarde. Now, he has said already into the catcher's ear, that's a ball. So he knows, and when he calls a strike, he says it's a strike. It is sometimes very disconcerting to broadcasters and folks at home. As Johnson comes back, there's a soft liner into right field, and Jay Buhner for the game's first out. Well, Jim Todd, you know how valuable Bernie Williams has been to the New York Yankees this summer.
When Luis Polonia was designated for assignment, Wade Boggs moved into the leadoff spot. Bernie moved into the number 2 spot. They were the most productive 1-2 punch in the American League. In fact, second half of the year, Bernie Williams, one of the top 5 hitters in the American League.
So the excitement of the other evening has died down, but Wade Boggs said, you know, gentlemen, I was in a great Game 5 once with the Boston Red Sox, but I want to tell you, the one the other night was more exciting than that.
And Gene Monahan, the Yankee trainer, who's been around for a lot of these, including the '78 playoff game, said, "I've never seen a playoff game with that much drama."
So Williams ready to go, and this one out of play down the right field line. We should tell you that there are a lot of funky ground rules in this ballpark. It's the only way I know how to describe the Kingdom. Only place I know where speakers in foul and fair territory become an issue. Keep this in mind. If a ball hits one and is caught any place, the hitter is out. But the only way it's fair is if it strikes a speaker in fair territory and lands in territory. Then you get what you earn. It's down on the inside. And Johnson, you know, you showed that walk strikeout ratio. That's amazing for a left-handed.
When you look at Sandy Koufax in 1965, struck out 311 more men than he walked. That's unbelievable. But Johnson this year with 294 strikeouts, 65 walks. That's over 220 more strikeouts than walks. Only Todd Stottlemyre had 200 strikeouts in the American League.
Now it's 3-1. Buck Showalter hoping to get a couple of early walks. He'd like to put together a hit and a walk here or there. Try to get an early lead on Johnson. That's his game plan for tonight. Now he has got Williams on base, and that is the first walk of the evening issued by Johnson as we are just underway. And now, what about the strategy Buck's employing here of using Mike Stanley in the 3 spot?
Well, Mike Stanley is one of his most productive hitters and a good low fastball hitter. That's the reason you'll see even a catcher hitting in the 3 hole. Another look at the last pitch. And a little gesture from Randy Johnson. As you see, he knows right now, he's trying to find out what Joe Brinkman's strike zone is, wants to know if he's going to get that high fastball.
He would have loved Scott's strike zone the other night at Yankee Stadium. Anything close to the Bronx was a strike, including a couple that hit asphalt, I think, on the way to the catcher's mitt. But Johnson checks Williams now, and again, he is missing and just a touch wild. Now, let's talk about 3 days rest, because this is the second consecutive time that Johnson has been forced to come back on short rest. He's been good on short rest this year, but it's demanding a lot in a high-energy game like this.
I don't see it as any problem for him. He missed a couple of starts in the middle of the year with a sore shoulder. And Lou Piniella had Bob Walcott, young right-hander, still in, won both those starts, but his arm is sound, and this time of the year he hasn't had to throw a lot of pitches. He's fine.
Hanley takes another ball, and now the Yankees are going to be extremely patient here in the first inning.
Yeah, what you're seeing, Brent, is a pitcher in a pressure situation, and he has been in so many of them, that how many times can a guy respond to this kind of situation? And the tendency is to overthrow early in the game. That's what Johnson's doing right now.
Wilson sets the target. Hit high and deep to center field. Griffey goes back to the warning track, back to the wall, and makes the cutout. Williams tags up, and now he decides not to go. 2 away, but I want to tell you, that was inches from rocketing out of here.
It got a reaction from the Yankee bench, but Ken Griffey Jr. played this like a casual infield pop-up. I mean, he's going to blow a bubble. I got it all the way. Finds the wall, reaches up. You know, the average center fielder makes that look a little more difficult. Jr., just another catch for him.
Well, now it's Ruben, have I got a dance for you, Sierra? Batting right-handed tonight against the left-handed power pitcher, Randy Johnson.
There's that delayed call from Joe Brinkman, Brent. And it doesn't mean, in fact, Brinkman is a good ball strike umpire. It's just that his cadence and rhythm is a little slower, as Sierra's questioning whether that caught the outside corner.
You know, some of the folks the other night at the stadium, players and managers, thought that Scott was a little too hasty and that got him into trouble. Brinkman does not have that difficulty. Williams takes off. Throw through by. Wilson will get him. He's in with his stolen base. Count 1-1 on Sierra. So, Jimmy, just what the Yankees wanted now. This gives them an opportunity to score first on any kind of a base hit by Sierra.
It's not something Buck Showalter does a lot of, and Wilson got that ball down in a hurry after Williams got the great jump. Yankees last in the league in sacrifice bunts and stolen bases. They don't run often.
A very improved player is Wilson. As a youngster, he was a hockey goalie, but he has helped bring this team together. There are so many stories, and Lou Piniella with a great job of managing over here. And now high infield hot. This is going to do it. Torres says, out of my way. And Johnson's out of the first. The Yankees don't score, and the Mariners are coming up.
The grueling position of shortstop. A position that has seen other major league clubs start over 500 different players during Cal's streak. While others have come and gone, Cal has excelled in the field, earning 2 Gold Gloves, setting more than 10 records along the way, and continuing a streak that's still going strong.
This 1995 Division Series game is brought to you by Chevrolet. The cars and trucks 36 million people depend on every day. Genuine Chevrolet. McDonald's. Have you had your break today? And Beechwood H Budweiser, the king of beers. This Bud's for you. Speaking of Budweiser, the Mariners are coming up here, and the Budweiser lineup looks this way. Very familiar, ladies and gentlemen. Joey Cora back in that second spot. The kid is there batting third. Then the non-Martinez brothers, Buhner, Blowers, Sojo, and the catcher, Danny Wilson, will bat ninth. Now, Jack McDowell, Jim Cott, you had such a good point about his 10-1 lifetime mark against the Mariners.
Yeah, no disrespect for Jack McDowell when you see 10-1. Wow, he really handles the Mariners. This is a different Mariner team. This is the best team they've ever had. It's going to be a little tougher to get them out.
Now, Vince Coleman looking for his first hit of this championship series, batting left-handed. He's been a spark plug since coming over here and signing on with the Mariners. One of the things that the wild card drama did is it caused the Mariners to step up and acquire players like Vince Coleman. They weren't thinking of running down the California Angels at the point when they started picking them up. This is going to curve foul and out of play down the right field line. Vince Coleman, unlike so many players, loves playing on artificial turf. This is his favorite turf.
Much better player is able to utilize that speed. And you're right along with Vince Coleman, Norm Charlton, the two most important during the season acquisitions for the Mariners.
And I guess the third would be Andy Bennett.
But again, he was next to unhittable the other night. Norm Charlton, one pitch to Paul O'Neill, the Mariners win that game.
That puts in now. 1-1. Coleman shortening up the bunt, and Brinkman's got a strike on him. A ball and 2 strikes. Well, John Saunders, what have we got going on tonight around the divisional playoffs?
Brent, we got a wild start between the Rockies and the Braves as Mike Kingery at the plate lays down the bunt. Watch John Smoltz. Great play to record the out at first, but Young, who was on first, winds up on third. So with Larry Walker at the plate, Smoltz with the wild pitch. Young is coming in. Smoltz there in time, applies the tag, but he loses the ball. The run is in. Rockies lead it 1-0 in the first. Brent and Jim.
All right, John, thank you very much. Here we've got a ball and 2 strikes on Vince Coleman. No score. We're in the bottom of the first inning. Interesting, Jimmy, that all 4 of the divisional playoffs are 2-0 right now.
And you wonder what the home field advantage really is. You see the Braves and the Reds go on the road and win 2.
Now Coleman trying to stay alive. 1-2. McDowell does not want to start an inning by putting him on base, and he's got him. Caught that outside corner, and Brinkman did not hesitate with that strike 3.
Key to Jack McDowell's success, and most pitchers for that matter, but coming off that injured back muscle, hasn't worked in 15 days, is command of the fastball. And that looked like it was right on the outside corner. As Mike Stanley sitting out there framed it well and got the call from Joe Brinkman.
If Joe continues calling that pitch a strike, partner, we're out of here in 2-10. Okay, let me tell you. That's the pitcher's pitch right there. Cora now steps in, and McDowell a little high and tight is the second baseman, who is 0-5 to the left side here in this championship series through the first 2 games. Even though the Mariners are down 2 wonderful games back in Yankee Stadium. Baseball back again alive right now. Nice to see people at least arguing about wanting to see games.
And really turning this into a baseball city. I mean, you hear it on the radio programs, even in the streets, all the banners. And it wasn't that long ago when everyone was talking about this team leaving. Now they talk about how good they are.
1-1 here. But foul out of play. The Kingdome, of course, the Kingdome, according to the Mariner organization, is no longer usable. As we take a look at the Yankee defense, I'm going to say, where is Randy Velarde?
Well, let's see if we can pick him out. He's in left field. The Yankees, other than the Baltimore Orioles, the best fielding team in the American League.
And again, staying inside. Cora right now with Stanley behind the plate. Leyritz gave him a big night off when he was able to turn in 15 innings behind the plate for Showalter. But Showalter has done a fabulous job of running this baseball team in a very quiet, gentlemanly fashion. Hard to believe that he has not signed a contract extension. You would expect that at almost any time to happen. I mean, here's a man who puts up with all the aggravation and just quietly goes on about his business. I really can't say enough about him. I just think he handles himself well.
As concerned about him getting a contract as he said the guys that really feel vulnerable this time of the year are coaches. That's what he'd like to see his coaching staff.
Joe McDowell ready here, Jimmy. And Cora, fly ball to right field, and Williams is back, and Gerald Williams, a very handy player for the Yankees to have around. He makes the put out. They had thought about, and Buck talked to you today about using Sierra in the outfield. What kind of a tango would that have given us?
Well, they then would have played Velarde at shortstop, taken Tony Fernandez out, maybe used Jim Leyritz as a designated hitter. I I don't think Buck wanted to gamble with Sierra's glove and then replace him late in a close game and lose his bat, so he decided against it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you were to start a baseball franchise, you're going to pick your first player. Wouldn't you start with him? Wouldn't this be your number one choice?
I might take Randy Johnson or Greg Maddux first, and then him.
High fly ball. This one's playable. Bernie Williams, the center fielder and the captain of the outfield, moves over and takes it. The Mariners are down in order, and more importantly, they got Edgar Martinez leading off an inning. Give you an idea about tradition. The New York Yankees have 3 more World Championships, 22, than the Mariners have years in existence. And here is Don Mattingly, who's very aware he finally ended his personal drought appearing in his first playoff, and he has performed brilliantly so far. He has a very good career average against Randy Johnson. For a left-handed hitter, Don Mattingly has done amazingly well, Jim.
Not only the average, but he's only struck out a couple times in the last few years. He is using that new leg kick, Brent. Of course, like they do in Yankee Stadium, these fans get into it when Johnson gets a 2-strike count.
In 42 at-bats, Johnson has only struck him out twice.
There's the leg kick and the good slider from Johnson.
Looking for his third, 1 and 2. In fact, it's amazing that we're in the second inning and Randy Johnson's looking for his first K of this game. Struck out 12 Angels Monday. And he's got his first Yankee tonight.
Pretty good indication of what kind of a finish Randy Johnson is putting on this season. Here's a hitter, one of the most difficult to strike out in the American League. As you mentioned, he's only struck out twice in his last 44 ABs against the big lefty, and he puts him away.
Now Gerald Williams comes in. You know, when Koufax turned his career around, it was interesting what you were telling me last night. He was able to throw the breaking pitch for a strike when he needed it.
Yeah, you can look back at Bob Feller, Sandy Koufax, Nolan Ryan, all great power pitchers, but what made them winning pitchers is their ability to get their breaking ball over. Even Herb Score during his heyday, they talked about how hard he threw, but hitters would get that curve over. That is what has made Johnson a complete pitcher, ability to control the breaking ball.
1-1.
He's throwing Gerald Williams some changeups. He's thrown them too because Gerald Williams is one of a few hitters in the American League that can turn on Johnson's fastball as well as anyone.
Williams, an open stance, and then you can see how he closes down. That's a tactic that so many hitters, something that gives them more leverage. They stand in against the power pitcher a little bit better. 2-2. Ground ball. Sojo cross. Well, Jimmy, you have watched Russ Davis, and let's take a look here at this one.
Nice play by Sojo. You see how quickly he released that ball from the backhand side. He really realized how fast Gerald Williams is. He just gets him by half a step.
A lot of fans do not know the young man at the plate now, Jimmy, Russ Davis.
They know him in the International League. Russ Davis put up great numbers in the minor leagues. He's got a quick bat, and Buck Showalter weighing that decision of whether to play Davis tonight because he is a good fastball hitter. Of course, he's not facing an ordinary fastball, so on Randy Johnson's good nights, I don't care how good a fastball hitter you are, you have trouble catching up with him.
Hit down the left field line and deep down into that corner. Davis with a long drive. Just foul. Tim Welke, the left field umpire, down deep, 6-man crew, was all over this one, but Davis with a touch of power.
Yeah, quick discussion between Wilson and Johnson. He said, don't throw that fastball in that same zone anymore. A lot like Gerald Williams, Russ Davis, with the quick compact swing, can turn on that fastball. and just pulled it a couple of yards foul.
1-2, and Johnson with fresh respect. Davis hitless in 4 previous at-bats against the big unit. The catcher set up on the inside. You could see him move that target in on him, and it goes 2-2. It's fascinating to watch from this angle in center field, to watch that game within a game back there. The catcher, how he'll move late. Wanted that pitch and didn't get it.
So far, Johnson has looked in a couple times. The strike zone has been a little tight, and the game within the game you mentioned, Brent, that is what's made Randy Johnson a better pitcher. He now can move the ball around in the strike zone. It's full.
High chopper was foul. It's foul ball.
A few years ago, the game within the game for Johnson was sit behind home plate and hope that I can hit the glove if he could just throw a strike. But now he has really matured emotionally, mentally, as well as the command of the fastball. Move it in and out, get the breaking ball over.
Lou Piniella, watching has to be unusual for him to get involved in a playoff. Looking across the way at his former team, the New York Yankees. 98 miles an hour Johnson's been measured at tonight. And there is strike 3. His second of the night, second of the inning. Going to the bottom of the second, scoreless in Seattle.
The Danes test their luck in Washington. They'll try to collar the Huskies in a national showdown. It's Game 2 of an ABC college football doubleheader Saturday.
We come back now with the non-brothers Martinez. Edgar and Tino will start things off here for the Mariners. They have wreaked havoc on the Yankees this year. 12 home runs and 36 RBIs in 15 games. Here is perhaps the most unheralded great player in the game today, and I do not use that word loosely. Ground ball right to Fernandez, and he gobbles him up. They had to go back and make sure of the tag.
Yeah, when you talk about most valuable player, everybody mentions Mo Vaughn, Albert Bell, and they've had great years, but you cannot forget about what Edgar Martinez has done. He belongs in that category, and he did a lot of his damage when Griffey Jr. was on the disabled list.
Now here is Tino Martinez, the former #1 draft choice of this organization, and they were waiting for him to blossom, and he finally has this season. They're getting excellent production out of him now as the first baseman. John Saunders, you've got an update on another game.
Well, Brent, you wonder why the Cleveland Indians had the best record in baseball during the regular season. Just about everyone in the lineup contributes, including Jim Tomei here, who blasts this one just fair with Eddie Murray aboard off Timothy Wakefield, and the Indians, looking for the sweep, have a 2-0 lead. Brent and Jim.
Yeah, John, if you talk to folks around the American League, they'll certainly agree with you on that assessment. This one tight and high again. And, you know, Jimmy, one thing about the Yankees, though, the Yankees have played very competitively against Cleveland. They're not afraid to go walking in against the Indians in the championship series if it comes down to that.
In fact, 2 out of 3 in their last trip to Cleveland. They won.
You won now from Blackjack McDowell. Jim, in your assessment of McDowell here in the early going, what have you seen so far?
Well, some of the fastballs have gotten away up and in. Those aren't thrown up there on purpose, and that tells me that back muscle is not completely comfortable. It's still got to be nagging down in there, and it's affecting his control a little bit.
Base hit, first one of the game. Tino Martinez is on with the single to right field. And the former Yankee, Jay Buhner, is coming up.
Pitch down in the strike zone, and Tino Martinez, like most left-hand hitters, a good low ball hitter. Brent, he's another one of those, the Tampa connection. There are so many outstanding big leaguers from that Tampa area. Wade Boggs and the Yankee bench, one of them.
Jay Buhner is hitting well in this championship series, .364, but he has not been necessarily productive. Hasn't hit a home run yet, and he hasn't driven in a run. But this is one of those freak guys. This is a guy who can turn blazing hot at a moment's notice, and no one gets him out. This double play ball. The relay time. First pitch double play. And the Mariners are gone at the bottom of the second. We are still scoreless in Seattle.
Somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out. Maybe they should have traded him for Griffey.
Jimmy, I've been here for NBA Championship Series when the Seahawks were rolling, and I've watched great Washington Husky events in this town, but never seen it as a baseball city before this, and it is just wonderful to experience out here with Johnson's first pitch grounded down to second. Cora is up with it, and Fernandez is on.
You wish that every city could experience what cities like Seattle and, of course, New York has done it so many times, what it does to energize not only the city but the whole area. And at a most needed time for the Mariners when they're talking about getting a new stadium.
Yeah, they're hopeful that they can get a retractable dome stadium in here. I alluded to that. It has been a bit of an uphill battle, of course. Tax dollars are a little bit tight. You can understand that. Johnson fires that first pitch in there for a strike. Now to Pat Kelly, and who will ever forget watching Kelly on that Friday night against the Toronto Blue Jays. Seems like an eternity ago, but that may have been the turning point in propelling the Yankees to the wild card triumph. Who knows? They were being shut down by Juan Guzman that night, and he really turned on that pitch.
It meant the same thing to this 1995 Yankee team that Bucky Dent's home run did in '78.
I absolutely agree with that. Crowd rises again on 2 strikes. Familiar sight. It's a ball and 2 strikes. And Johnson will go hunting for his 3rd strikeout. And Kelly battles away.
You can see where Randy Johnson, to get his strikeouts, a lot of them have been on that backdoor slider or breaking ball. The Yankees have excellent fastball hitters in that lineup.
Got him with a good breaking ball.
I don't know how you can adjust to this as a hitter, but I know a lot of the Yankee hitters, and Pat Kelly, when he goes back, they're going to say 2 strikes. He's throwing that backdoor slider or breaking ball. As you see that one come across the outside half of the plate. That's what most of his strikeouts have been on.
Now, Randy Velarde began his season seeking employment. And you can make a strong argument that he's one of the most valuable members of this New York Yankee team. It is amazing what he has done this year. He hasn't hit well in the championship series so far. Cora's got him. It's 1, 2, 3. The big unit is settling in.
My hands were steady. My eyes were clear and bright. Some things are blind.
Well, we're due to continue our Division Series coverage tomorrow on ABC. Just note the change in the start time, ladies and gentlemen. 7 Eastern and 4 Pacific. Just move it up an hour. You might want to take note on that. I think that's the important thing on that promo. Now, we've got Mike Blowers up here. And, Jimmy, in your discussion, this is someone who has to be very disappointed about how he's done offensively.
Yeah, he has left 9 runners on base, including 7 in Game 1. As you see, he's 0 for 7. And he, again, like Buhner, great production per hit during the season.
It's interesting to watching McDowell when he was with the Chicago White Sox against Toronto in the playoffs. He lost 2 games after winning 20 in the regular season. He's never won a postseason game. Not as spectacular as Randy Johnson, but so far he's been efficient. Giving up 1 hit, it was erased on a double play, and now working away to Blowers. And of course, you wonder just how far into the night he can go. Showalter telling us that Hitchcock would be the long man. There is depth in this Yankee pitching staff.
The fact that he missed the strike zone by that much, you go 15 days without really having a good workout, it's tough to be sharp.
And he has walked the leadoff hitter, and normally that is a very ominous sign.
And at a most inopportune time as far as the Yankees are concerned, because the Mariners are one of the best teams in the league at sacrificing runners over, hit and run, and with Randy Johnson on the mound, you can bet Lou Piniella is going to use Luis Sojo to do that. One of those two things, hit and run or bunt him over. He's one of the best in the league at it. He and Joey Cora.
How about the broken bat hit with the bases loaded and then circle it? First time I've ever seen that off a broken bat. Went down the right field line. Still a painful memory for the California Angels that day because that certainly spelled doom. Sojo now did not shorten up, was taking a pitch, and perhaps they're going to try to make McDowell work. He takes a strike, however, and falls behind in the count here, and the sign being flashed down by Sam Palazzo, who has worked with Lou Piniella at other stops along the way. Hitting away, Kelly starts it to Fernandez, and they double him up. So that time, not bunting, backfires on Piniella.
Well, he trusted Luis Sojo to hit the ball the other way, and he did. He tried to hit it to right field, but he hit it right at Pat Kelly. Pat made a very nice and quick decision for the Yankees on that ground ball.
How about McDowell's ratio this year of ground balls to fly balls, Jimmy?
See, right there, you can notice how far Flowers is, and Kelly thought about going to tag him, but he didn't waste any time. He flipped it right to Velarde, or rather Fernandez, and that's what enabled the Yankees to turn the double play.
You never know where Velarde is lurking.
That's right.
You never know he's going to pick up a play defensively. Wilson steps in. You know, you mentioned Velarde, and I'm sure a lot of folks sitting at home, especially longtime Yankee fans, would say that play the other night with Fernandez, who went to Velarde, they freeze Martinez, they get the hit. I've never seen that. I've seen it coming the other way, but never the way that was played in by the Yankees. That was an unbelievable defensive play.
I think that was just an example of what a great game that was. I mean, nobody blew that game or made a lot of mistakes. It was won by great pitching, great plays, clutch hitting.
Ball and a strike. Hit deep. But Bernie Williams says this one's playable. And he makes the put out in right center field. He has faced the minimum. 2 double plays bail him out. Bernie Williams leading off here in the top of the 4th inning. We are scoreless. The Mariners must win to force their Game 4 best-of-5 series. First of 3 victories advances on to the championship series, which is due to start next Tuesday night. As it now stands, that would be in Cleveland if they win 1 of 3 this weekend at Fenway. Here it is Randy Johnson, who has carried this Mariner team down the stretch and on into the playoffs, falling behind to Bernie Williams, 1 ball and no strikes. Remember, Williams walked back in the 1st inning and stole second base. He is the only base runner we've had reach second base here tonight.
Watching these guys work, Brent, you get the feeling that 1 run could win this game. The only question mark with McDowell, and it's been remarkable how sharp he's been the first 3, is the endurance.
Hit deep down right field, headed back, and Buhner watch this one go to the seats, and Bernie Williams puts the Yankees ahead of Randy Johnson 1-0. The Yankees lead it on Williams' home run to right field. That will quiet the crowd, too.
I'll say, you talked about it earlier, how well Bernie has hit in that number 2 spot. Gets a high fastball and drives it the other way. I think you could tell from that drop of the bat that he knew it had enough distance.
Mike Stanley, the 3-hitter, takes a strike. Well, here it's 1-0, and John Saunders, you've got other action. What's up?
Well, Brent, you have a home run, and Eric Young bidding to do likewise, facing John Smoltz. Watch the pitch. It's up. It's a breaking ball. Young takes it deep to left field. Ryan Klesko, though, has a beat on it. Back to the wall. Up! But that ball is gone. That's a 2-run home run, and right now the Rockies, trying to stay alive, have a 3-0 lead in the 3rd. Brent and Jim.
And John, here it's 1-0 on the Bernie Williams home run. The count 1 ball, 2 strikes, and Stanley stays alive. Looking at Williams and what he has done against Randy Johnson, hitting .296 coming into this game, but that is Williams' first home run against the Mariner left-hander.
Good example of what good fastball hitters the Yankees have.
The hero for the moment.
It's also, Brent, a good example of how the numbers during the season, you look for tendencies, and yet it tells you nothing about postseason. John Smoltz has owned the Rockies. They lead them 3-0.
2-2. This one's hit deep on the line, but not high enough for left fielder. Vince Coleman has got it on the line. 2 out now. And this 95 Division Series game is brought to you by Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light, Texaco, Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil, and Buick in your local dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. Let me correct what I just said. Williams with the leadoff home run and Stanley's line drive out the first out, and now Ruben Sierra 0 for 1 steps in. It is amazing in an important game how scoring first makes such a huge difference.
And especially in this game, because the Yankees know if they could get a couple of runs with Johnson on the mound, and it already has, it will quiet the crowd down just a little.
Just missing, and Johnson has struggled a bit. In the first inning, he was off, put together a couple of impressive innings in 2 and 3, and now he's battling it again.
Part of what he's battling is a little stare down with Joe Brinkman, and that's not going to get him anywhere. You see Brinkman staring right back at him. He thought the breaking ball was a strike. He thought that fastball was a strike.
3-1, and Sierra's ready. White Decora on the high hop off the artificial turf. Now 2 away. The Indians looking for a sweep. The Rockies trying to stay alive. The Dodgers and the Reds are scoreless. I'll bet a third of Tokyo. Yep, watching that game live, middle of the morning on television over there. Elmo has become one of the great international baseball stars.
Led the National League in strikeouts as Randy Johnson did in the American League.
Now it's Matty. Struck out his first time up. He goes too far.
Hitters have a way of doing that. They have little conversations with themselves, as you saw Mattingly do. Keep the shoulder in, stay back.
Play.
It's the first time this year that he has faced Randy Johnson, even though he's had good numbers against him. The eye injury early in the year, the back injury in the middle of the year.
Not before Bernie Williams' home run puts the Yankees up by a run coming up the bottom of the 4th.
Yankees lead at 1-0. You see Don Mattingly's high leg kick, and also how Randy Johnson paints that fastball right on the outside corner. 2 strikeouts of Mattingly in tonight's game.
Well, a Wednesday night victory over Seattle. The Yankees rallied from 4 different deficits. Now here in a game they must have, the Mariners will try to rally for the first time, and Vince Coleman steps back in. It's interesting, that was an all-time postseason record. No team had ever come from behind 4 times to pull one out as the Yankees did.
It's always interesting in baseball when you see things that have never been done before. I mean, Randy Johnson's done a few of them this year. 27-3 winning record.
Now has faced the minimum. Out of a ball and a strike here on Vince Coleman. Slaps one, trying to go the opposite way, out of play down the left field line.
Now you're going to see, Brennan, and sometimes it's overused in sports, but the warrior mentality. Jack McDowell is very aware that that might be the only run he'll get. And he's going to work every inning like it's the 9th inning.
Good pitch. High hop, Mattingly, and a Buhner H, and he's got Coleman. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without express written consent from the Office of the Commissioner. We thank you very much for watching tonight. 1-0. The Yankees with a win tonight. Let's see all the good things that would happen. They move to the championship series in the American League. Mattingly says, whoops, here he comes down the line. You know, folks, remember that Vince Coleman was once a punter in the National Football League? My friend Dick Vermeil cut him. For a punter, he's one of the fastest runners I've ever seen. Joey Cora steps back in. Like Jack McDowell with that one-run lead, pitching for the first time in a couple of weeks. I was saying all the good things that can happen. Forget about moving to the championship series. Look at the rest of the Yankee staff kids. Cone could come in and open up game one. They really would like to get this one over as quickly as possible, but that's rather obvious.
That's what worked against Lou Piniella when they had to play the game on Monday against the Angels. He did not have Randy Johnson ready for game one like Buck Showalter did, and you're right, that's what would be important for the Yankees to win tonight or tomorrow night and have Cone available for game one.
Now we should tell you that Scott Kamenicki at the moment is listed as the game 4 starter. Right now Showalter indicates he would save Cone if there is a 5th game in this series, but right now, first things first, he's hoping McDowell can hang in there and keep turning in some innings right now.
The opposite is true for Lou Piniella. If the Mariners, as David Cone looks on, if the Mariners would come back and win, Randy Johnson pitching tonight could pitch game one.
On the ground, Kelly up with it slickly. One thing about artificial turf, when you go for a well-hit ball like that, you can put your glove down. It's not going to take a strange hop. That's why a fielder can run right there and get it smoothly as Kelly did. Here he is, Ken Griffey Jr.
Missing all that time with the broken wrist and his swing. The Mariner players said they are amazed how in the playoffs it suddenly, that swing is right on time.
Very high. Jimmy, you were talking to him about the wrist injury. How much flexibility has he lost in that left wrist?
So if you held your wrist out in front of you and made a fist and then flexed, say, the right one down, the left one just doesn't flex quite as much.
Down low, so McDowell has pitched him high and low, moving the ball around.
Unusual game for Jack McDowell. He's a fly ball pitcher. He already has 2 double play groundouts.
He feels very confident about pitching in the Kingdom. That's no surprise with his good 1-loss record out here. Ready to go again against Griffey. And this one hit very high in the infield. Fernandez calls everybody away, and they have popped the kid up. And again, 1, 2, 3. So McDowell has faced the minimum. Welcome back to the Kingdom with Jim Cotta. I'm Brent Musburger, and Jim, as expected, a pitching duel, but McDowell with the lead right now.
It is incredible to me that Jack McDowell, after 15 days of just playing catch, not going to the mound, can get it to a level and pitch the way he has the first 4 innings of this game.
Gerald Williams playing right field, fouls that one away.
And in what Buck Showalter said before the game, he said, what I like about Jack McDowell, I like a lot of things, but he said if he doesn't do well tonight, he will not come in and say, well, my back leg. He will never refer to the fact that back is hurting him or whether it isn't.
Swung on and, the bat, look out down there.
Wow.
So it's retrieved, and I think by the reaction from the folks down there, no one is hurt.
And
And it's the customary. He's going to give the bat to the guard. Gerald Williams will use it, and then the bat boy will run him over and give the guy a brand new bat. You see him way out in front. Johnson again throwing Gerald Williams some changeups, and boy, get out of the way. The new seats installed this year at Kingdome down the left field line, and fortunately, no one hurt. I mean, that went about 120 feet.
Johnson ready, 1-2, and got him. John Saunders, what have you got for us?
Well, Brent, the Yankees are losing their bats, and the Indians don't need bats because Tim Wakefield says, hey, leave it on your shoulder. I'm walking everybody. He walked Bell, Murray, and then Tomei. That one walked in by Erga, who did single, and it's 3-0 right now. The Indians with the lead. Back to Brent and Jim.
And John, here the Mariners and their ace trailing the New York Yankees. The Yankees a win away from eliminating the Mariners. Each team with one hit, but for the Yankees, a big one. Bernie Williams, his home run, the only run in this game. 5 strikeouts. The American League leader in that department right now. And if you want to have an argument about whether or not pitchers are the most valuable players, you can certainly start with Randy Johnson. Would the Mariners have gotten close without him out there? And Jim, you got an interesting observation on that. Here's Russ Davis, and Davis skies this one. Martinez goes back and makes the putout. And a reminder that tomorrow on ABC's College Football, we've got a doubleheader. What a great game this is going to be. Ohio State against Penn State. That's tomorrow at 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific. And then it's followed by the game right here. Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish against the Washington Huskies tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific time. Two out now, and Fernandez 0 for 1. Stepping in.
Yeah, the point, Brent, about Randy Johnson, the Mariners have the most valuable pitcher, the most valuable hitter, and maybe the best all-around player when he's healthy on one team. That's unbelievable. But they ought to split those awards up.
Now, who are the other two?
Ken Griffey Jr. and Edgar Martinez.
But you think that they should have a most valuable pitcher award that's totally separate? They should not even be considered.
I think to settle this controversy, you keep the pitchers out of the MVP award, and Randy Johnson is the Cy Young winner. And then you look at the most valuable hitter. Call it a Henry Aaron Award. Edgar Martinez would qualify, Albert Bell, Mo Vaughn. And then a third award for those like the Kirk Gibsons in 1988 that are the inspirational leaders.
Ball for the strike, and this one slapped away.
There's nothing away from Barry Larkin. He's had a good year at the bat, but what he brings in Mo Vaughn. Wow.
Hey, listen to the Kingdome right now. 2-2. Fernandez, who has had big game experience in the past, battles to stay in. That's another thing you like about the Yankees. A lot of players over there on that bench have been in championship series and World Series, and the crowd coming alive is not going to throw him that much off. It's Randy Johnson's pitching that'll do that. Number 6 for Johnson, but he's still behind 1-0 on Williams' home run for the Yankees.
Here's the pitch. Mattingly hits it deep to right center.
I got it.
I got it.
quickly to the bottom of the 5th inning. One of those wonderful old-fashioned pitching duels. Buck Showalter.
There's something
There,
around
the
the
umpire.
Yankee dugout that Buck was referring to. Brent, this is what we're talking about. Edgar Martinez, but you cannot overlook him when you talk, if you want to say most valuable player, most valuable hitter. You have to look right along with Bell and Vaughn and digest those numbers. Only one of the three who has walked more than he struck out, and the on-base percentage, unbelievable.
Came in here with a .600 batting average, grounded out in the 2nd inning, 6-3. Notice the forearms of the patient. He's a classic hitter. He played in more games this year than any player in Major League Baseball. 145. He went the distance. Nobody on the California Angels did. I think J.P. Snow played in their most.
Of course, he picked up the load while Ken Griffey Jr. was out. McDowell facing the minimum. Let me correct that. He walked more times than he struck out. Bell and Vaughn did not do that.
The ball and a strike. Fine foul.
Interesting to talk to Wade Boggs and Edgar Martinez and ask them what they like about the other. And what Boggs says about Edgar Martinez, he said no one recognizes pitches, can pick up the breaking ball, adjust to it, and react to it like Martinez can.
1-2 to him. He's won 2 American League batting championships. Slowed one season because of a damaged hamstring. See how thickly built he is. Up high, check swing, and this one's going to be out of play. That gives it a strong chase. Through the years, he's been a magnificent first baseman, and fellas agonizing over the fact that they have lost the ball and probably spilled a brew or two down there. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Look out.
Now, this is what makes him such a good hitter. McDowell has made some outstanding pitches. He keeps fouling them off and gets you to that 3-2 count.
Quickly, Stanley puts the big mid on it so it doesn't have an opportunity to roll back fair. And there is a classy group of pitchers.
Well, we got 3 of them in this series right here: McDowell, Cone, and Johnson. And if you want a little insight into who's most valuable, look at those 5 guys.
Edgar Martinez battling away against Blackjack McDowell. Count full, 3-2. Leadoff hitter, bottom of the 5th. Yankees 1, Mariners nothing. Walks the leadoff hitter. That's the 2nd time tonight that Jack has done that. He walked Flowers back in the 3rd inning, and he was quickly erased on a Sojo double play.
First baseman, number 23, Tino Martinez.
Tino Martinez stepping in. 1 for 1. Being urged on by the electronic scoreboard. They set up outside. Comes back inside. Look out! Put that baby on the scoreboard. Mariners lead it 2-1 on the Tino Martinez 2-run shot.
ball down and in, just like the base hit he got. What a series between these two ball clubs.
Another lead change. Buhner.
You mentioned the electronic scoreboard. They really don't need an awful lot of encouragement. They're going to call time right now because in the Kingdome, they set the fireworks off after every home run. And it gets a little difficult to see the ball.
George Steinbrenner the other night accusing Lou Piniella of some gamesmanship when he yanked his team after back-to-back home runs. And now Buck Showalter is dashing out to right field for a conversation with his right fielder out there, and the crowd is being warned by the PA announcer not to throw anything on the field. So we may have had a turnaround here as part of the fans.
Yeah, unfortunately, what happened in New York to the Mariners players, and even on some radio stations here, you hate to hear that you know, there was a lot of talk made of that.
There's indication there by Gerald Williams that he has been hit up there around the lip.
He got hit by something coming out of the stands.
Well, we check his condition. John Saunders, give us an update on the other games as we watch the treatment being applied here.
All right, Brent, the Dodgers and the Reds. Here's a play you might not believe. Piazza at the plate. Hard hit out to left field. Ron Gant's after it. He gets to it, but then he can't pick the ball up. So Chad Fonville's coming around third to score. Stumbles a bit, but he's coming in, doesn't slide, and doesn't touch the plate either. Santiago realizes it, gives him the tag, and he's out of there. Next half inning, Nomo facing Ron Gant with Larkin running, and this is a two-run shot. The Reds take the 2-0 lead as the Dodgers squander a run. It's in the third inning. Right now, back to Brent and Jim.
Well, John, fortunately, Gerald Williams, we hope is not seriously hurt. We'll get the details of what struck him. I know the Showalter's out there talking to the umpire, and well, we've got a little bit of a break here. There, that looks like it was a. Well, you shouldn't waste a good vegetable.
No, well, it's not a solid.
By the way, is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable?
Coming from a long distance, that could still be jarring and a little painful, and it caught Gerald. It's unfortunate that the majority of the fans in all ballparks come to enjoy the game, and it's just a few that make it a little miserable for and give cities a bad reputation.
Well, he's very fortunate that they didn't decide to throw a cantaloupe or a watermelon
or a battery.
Yeah, well, we've got a moment here as they discuss things down there to remind you about ABC's NFL Monday Night Football. A couple of good games lately on Monday night. This one shapes up pretty good. Chargers extremely well coached. Kansas City again stalking the playoffs. Monday night live at 9 Eastern. That's an AFC Western Division game. That's going to be a very hard-hitting, good football game. Kansas City's environment, and again I quote Dick Vermeil, who says it may be the only environment in the NFL which resembles a college setting right now at Arrowhead Stadium, Jimmy. So that should be something Monday night. Well, let's see. It's 2-1 now on the Pino Martinez home run. Jay Buhner with 1 ball and no strikes steps back in on Blackjack McDowell.
Actually, I think all that distraction caused by throwing something at Gerald Williams gives Jack McDowell a little breather.
And he throws that pitch past Buhner.
You know, the Martinez home run, this crowd, I mean, was deafening. And then with Buhner getting in the box, but because of the incident in right field, it calmed down a little bit.
Ball and a strike to count on Buhner. Unusual stance. Jimmy, you was a one-time great pitcher. When you see somebody standing like that, the way he is with the bat cocked, what would you think?
But when a hitter holds the bat straight up and down, vertical position, it tells you he likes the ball down. And Jay Buhner is a good low ball hitter because it's much easier from a vertical position to drop the barrel on the ball. Hitters that hold it flat over the shoulder usually are high ball hitters. That is not 100% true, but that's a little indication of things that pitchers will look at.
1-2. Got him. That's the first out of the inning. And for McDowell, his second strikeout. He struck out the leadoff hitter tonight. Then Coleman. And Tony Conigliere, what a fabulous career he was having until that was interrupted. Here comes Blowers. Ground ball foul. Third baseline, young Russ Davis playing third base tonight. As many familiar Yankee stars are over there on the bench. Boggs, O'Neill, James, Leyritz, the hero from the 15-inning job, a left-handed pitcher, causing Buck Showalter to juggle his lineup. Blowers stands in. The great ups and downs of this series so far. Wade Boggs, the one thing that amazes me is his imitation of Brooks Robinson. Ladies and gentlemen, he's been unbelievable at third base through 2 games. And Blowers is hit by a Jack McDowell pitch, and he goes down to his knees.
Anybody that's following the game of baseball closely, I know the reaction of the Mariner fans and what's going through their mind, but if you follow what's happened to Jack McDowell, and Mike Blowers trying to get his breath right now, that is a direct result of the back injury, the pulled muscle, and the long layoff. I mean, he has pitched a gritty 4 1/3 innings, but he has not been razor sharp because of that. Actually, I think that it caught Blowers in that area where almost from the back where it might have just stunned him, and he's just trying to catch his breath and get a little feeling back in that right arm. Look how far this man. I mean, Jack McDowell does not miss the strike zone by that far. And you see Jack McDowell's reaction. Last place he wanted to throw it. It got Mike Blowers right between the shoulder blades.
Sensation, exchanging a couple of words at first base with Mattingly, and Showalter looking out now with 1 out, and of course he took cause for concern right here. The 2-run shot by Tino Martinez after a walk. Now he has hit a batter. He has also walked a couple here tonight, bailed out by a couple of double plays, trying to hang in. Sojo hit into one of those double plays back in the 3rd inning.
Another one of those hit-and-run situations. Last time Sojo with nobody out, tried to hit it the other way, but with 1 out, and Buck Showalter aware of that, paying attention to Blowers.
Jimmy, you know, there's been a lot of question about the move by McDowell to first base with that rigid left leg. I know that, first of all, it has been easy to steal on him. However, he has also picked off a number of hitters. Now, what's your take on McDowell? Is it a Bach move?
No, it's borderline, which all good moves are. But he's got quick feet, quick footwork, and as long as he steps before he throws, it is not a ball. Some question as to what Joe Brinkman's call on that last pitch was. Sojo thought it was a ball.
Was not. Behind in the count, and now McDowell settles in again. Pitch. Yankee infield, which has been spectacular over the last week. A couple of double plays already tonight. Third. Davis, no chance to go to second to get the lead runner, so he alertly gets the hitter. There was absolutely no opportunity on that chopper to get Blowers, who has moved along to second base.
Not a hit and run by design, but because of that high hopper, it has the same results. And you saw just briefly in your screen there, Mike Blowers showing Pat Kelly how he kind of lost the feeling in his fingers when he got hit in the shoulder blades by that McDowell pitch.
Two out now at the bottom of the fifth. Here's the catcher, Wilson. Flowers away from second. It's a little too high for Brinkman, who's been working behind the plate.
Wilson in there primarily because he's an outstanding catcher. He has improved as a hitter. In fact, I said to Lou Piniella, what made you high on Dan Wilson from your Cincinnati days? Why did you want to get him over here? And he said the pitchers in spring training with Cincinnati used to say, is Danny catching today? I like to throw to him. Piniella said, that's good enough for me. He got him here to Seattle.
1-1 to him. Outside, and the runner will move along to third on the wild pitch by Jack McDowell.
To battle his way through that back injury and the long layoff, but McDowell, again, you just do not see him miss the strike zone that far. The errant pitches have not cost him a lot, but now with a man on third, Mike Stanley has to really be loose behind the plate.
Two out, so the infield back.
Long inning.
It still has a little bit of snap on that ball.
When they use that expression, he'll pitch with a bullet in him. That's what Jack McDowell's doing tonight. I mean, he is not, at least he certainly looks that he is in a lot of pain.
2-2. Got him. So McDowell pitches his way out of it, but not before Tino Martinez homers the Mariners to the lead. Well, as we all look around the divisional playoffs, here it is 2-1. The Mariners with the lead. Cleveland leading the Red Sox in Fenway Park. Cincinnati trying to close the Dodgers out in Cincinnati. And Colorado and the Braves are all tied up. The Braves have been a tough team to put away on the part of the Rockies, haven't they? A good closing relief pitcher, and Baylor might have a lead in that divisional playoff so far. And now leading off for the Yankees, Pat Kelly here in the sixth inning, and he has taken a strike from Randy Johnson, who has surrendered a home run pitch to Bernie Williams. That in the fourth inning put the Yankees ahead, and like we've had in this series for 3 games, a lead change. Now the crowd believing. They believe that that lead is enough. Out of play is Kelly, who battled him the first time before finally striking out.
I think this started with Ron Guidry in Yankee Stadium back in '78, where the fans began to get on their feet with 2 strikes, and they still do it in New York, and the fans here have picked up on it with Randy Johnson on the mound.
Jim, if you look back at the record book mentioning Guidry, this may be one of the best pitching years, most overpowering pitching years since that year by Guidry for the Yankees. Johnson's been phenomenal.
Now we showed the graphic on the strikeout walk ratio. Those are Koufax-like numbers.
He is 6 foot 10 inches tall. Look at the leverage he gets when he comes in. He's got you with a beautiful breaking ball. So that is strikeout number 7.
This is one adjustment he's made, Brent. Early in the year, he had a couple of starts where he was ineffective. Pitching coach Bobby Cuellar said he stands now a little more erect on the mound. He drops down about 3/4, and there again is that backdoor slider.
Leadoff hitter Velarde taking the ball. Randy Johnson attended the University of Southern California on a basketball and a baseball scholarship before he decided to concentrate on baseball when he was a junior. He's a fierce competitor, but it's sort of interesting. When you ask him what kind of music he listens to when he drives to work on his days to pitch, the opera
He thought he had that pitch, and Brinkman gives him the sign it was up.
Now you'll have to battle back from a 3-0 hole. So Velarde walks. Now, let's take you back to Bernie Williams. He is the offense. The only hit, the only run, the only RBI when he slammed this home run off Johnson his last time up. And it was no doubt about it.
And managers will tell you it's not the long ball that'll beat you, it's the base-on balls. The Mariners scored 2 after a McDowell walk, and now Johnson walks his second man.
So now the rematch. Johnson jumps ahead.
Amazing about Johnson, power pitcher. He has appeared to have better control of his slider tonight than of his fastball.
If you don't get the leadoff hitter on against Johnson, you have only a 5% chance of scoring. That is an unbelievable number for a pitcher. And of course, here he retired Pat Kelly, walked the second hitter. What's going on in the other 3 divisional championship series? Very much up in the air in those 3 games, so we'll keep you up to date throughout the year. That's a base hit. Into right field now. And Velarde has to hold the throw back, and they got him. He was too far off. They got him down with Sojo making the tag. A critical mistake by Velarde.
You're right, Brent. A critical mistake combined with some great timing by Buhner and Sojo.
That's a great performance by Sojo.
And an
He's
accurate
in front of the umpire. He knows that that view is distracted a bit. Now watch the outfielder here.
Buhner senses Velarde has gone too far around, and Sojo comes back to make the tag.
Stanley, the hitter, Jeff.
As a base runner, you have to read that ball immediately before you get to second base and know whether you can make it or whether you have to hold up as soon as you hit the bag.
You cannot give Randy Johnson outs. He's too tough. Out of play.
Any other game, you come back to the bench and say, well, somebody else will get a hit. Not always true against this guy.
Starting to sound like Minneapolis. The Dome rocking. 0-2. 1-run lead. Must have it to stay alive. And the throw over to first base with Bernie Williams, who has already stolen 1 base in this game.
And it would be a good situation for Buck Showalter. You mentioned the Yankees don't do it often, but 1-2, he gets breaking ball. Turn him loose. If he gets thrown out, Stanley gets a fresh count next inning.
Line drive base hit by Stanley, and now the mistake by Velarde looms even larger for the Yankees.
Wow, a walk and 2 hits in 1 inning, and it was Randy Velarde as Willie Randolph tried to hold him up, but Buhner read that, made the throw, and credit Sojo for getting back there and making the quick slap tag.
Now one of those moments for Ruben Sierra. He has not had a lot of hits in this series, and he has been shut down batting right-handed. I've got him at 0 for 4 as a right-handed hitter. But the hits that Ruben Sierra has in this series have been huge. He's a man who has enjoyed center stage, and he steps right on to it now here in the top of the sixth. I can't remember a player who has embraced the Puerto Rican community any more than Ruben Sierra has. It has given him a fresh baseball life, and he's making the most of it right now.
That's what he has done for the Yankees most of the year, is hit well with men in scoring position. You can see the pitching pattern. Ruben Sierra is a mistake hitter. If you leave one on the inside half of the plate, he's going to capitalize. But if you keep it right on that outside corner with that high leg kick, he has a hard time reaching it. That's what Wilson and Johnson are trying to do.
Johnson and Sierra. And it's 3-0. Mattingly, who has struck out twice, will be next.
He may have the green light. Mattingly with 2 strikeouts. I would guess Sierra right now, if he gets one that he likes, can turn it loose.
Not close. Bases are loaded with Yankees here at the top of the sixth.
Now, talking before the game, Brett, with some of the Mariner coaches, Bobby Cuellar, and he said what's been amazing to me is to watch the Griffeys and the Mattingleys, the stars, take their game even to another level in situations like this.
The theater. Don Mattingly steps in with the bases loaded and the Yankees down a run to the best pitcher in the American League this year. If you look back at the numbers, this is amazing. Don Mattingly has struck out 3 times in a game, only 5 times in his career. The only pitchers to do it, Jeff Ballard and Mark Langston. Johnson will attempt to join that duo. Is loaded. Randy Johnson has done it again. It's 2-1 Seattle.
Rockies with a 3-0 lead over the Braves until Ryan Klesko pokes this one out to left field. Fred McGriff trots around to score, making it a 3-1 game, this in the 4th inning. Javier Lopez then. The infield drawn in. He knocks it past them. Justice and Klesko come in to tie the game at 3 apiece. But then this has just happened. Vinny Castilla, with a runner aboard, blasts this one off John Smoltz out to left center field. It's gone for a 2-run home run. And the Rockies back on top via the home run. No surprise there. 5-3, Brent and Jim.
Hey, John, who needs that thin air?
Right.
Come on, we can hit it down in Atlanta, and here it's 2-1. Mariners with their leadoff hitter, Vince Coleman, up against Jack McDowell.
Yeah, those Rockies have answered the Braves pitching staff, whether it's in Denver or Atlanta. Put some runs on the board.
2 balls and a strike. Coleman has struggled a bit from the left side. Did homer. Right-handed going to the opposite field, which was unusual for Vince. Watch one down the line, and it's a fair ball. It'll go down into the corner, and Coleman with speed. He's got a chance for 3 if they do. He's coming. Vince Coleman with a triple.
Coleman loves artificial turf, and this is why. He just pounds this ball, and Mattingly, playing fairly close to the line with a dive, cannot lay leather on it. And by the time it gets down into the corner, see, Coleman picks up immediately where the ball is, and Sam Perlazzo guiding him into third base. Yankees will have to pull the infield in.
And in some situations, Joey Cora would be able to drop one down and squeeze. Coleman, though, has just tripled. Junior's due up next. And Cora slaps this one foul, but he can put one down.
Now, this is where AstroTurf, as you see his numbers have been in scoring position. AstroTurf is Joey Cora's friend. He can just beat it on the ground with those infielders playing in, and it will get through that infield in a hurry.
There's the infield pulled in. Coleman on the carpet in foul territory. And the count is a ball and a strike. On Cora, the left-handed hitter, with the Yankees trailing it by a run, and the Mariners presented a golden opportunity with Coleman's leadoff triple. It was interesting, as soon as Buck Showalter came to town and the Yankees arrived about 6:30 yesterday morning, he came out to the ballpark, had some news conference, spent some time out here talking with us afterwards. He said it would be a huge mistake for us to think that this series is over. This team plays too well in this building. They've got their ace going. This is apt to be a dogfight before it's over.
Not only plays well here, but they're a good team to begin with.
Ball four. Well, this Division Series game is brought to you by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. Network MCI, how to get modern communications technology working for your business. And Gillette Sensor and the Gillette Series. Gillette, the best a man can get. Showalter out of the dugout for a conference with Jack McDowell, with Junior coming to bat. First and third, and nobody out, and activity down in the bullpen.
Activity in the bullpen, but Buck Showalter's trip to the mound doesn't have anything to do with Jack McDowell's pitching. Bob Wickman will begin to loosen, but what he wants to tell his infielders right now is if Cora should break, hold your ground. Don't get duped into going over to second base, covering the ball, covering the bag, and let Griffey hit a routine ground ball and have it be a base hit. Well, Cora is a threat to steal, but with Coleman at third, hold your ground and hope that you can nail Coleman at the plate on a ground ball. They're going to play the infield about halfway. By halfway, I mean Kelly and Fernandez, as you see in your picture, are not all the way into the infield line, but they're not as deep as they normally would play. If it's hit hard, they might be able to turn two. They'll take a quick look at Vince Coleman. Otherwise, they're coming home.
Three home runs and 5 RBIs already in the first 2 games of this championship series. Now a chance to drive in more. Nobody out. Step towards second, and now Griffey steps away.
Now you can see he doesn't want to give Griffey anything out over the plate where the kid can get his arms extended. They want to pound it inside on his hands.
Line drive foul. And somebody alertly down there has to be a protector when you warm up in the bullpen. You can see how close to the field of play the bullpens are here in the Kingdom. You can see that there's a bodyguard that stands right off to the side.
Actually, the bodyguard, John Wetland, and that pitch, Brent, tells you why you don't want to throw the ball out over the plate to Ken Griffey Jr.
3-1. The hitter's best friend. Years old. Missed almost half the season with a broken left wrist. Has driven in 5 runs already.
Right on that one. Talking about 25 years old, he was watching Ruben Rivera, the fine Yankee prospect, hit before the game, and he said, "That kid looks like he's going to be a pretty good hitter." I said, "What are you talking about, kid? You're only 25.
3-2. Cora at first. Coleman's at third. And they bluffed to see if Cora's going, and Cora went right back immediately.
They used to say that was the play that never worked, but McDowell has worked that play to perfection twice this year.
Worked on it while he was at Stanford. Pitched the Cardinals to an NCAA championship in Omaha. Now 3-2. Got him on the inside corner. Beautiful pitch from Jack McDowell.
Designated hitter, Edgar Martinez.
But it doesn't get a whole lot easier.
Good news, bad news for the Mariners. Again, they pound Griffey inside, and McDowell gets the called strike. Griffey doesn't think so, but Joey Cora steals second on the pitch.
Edgar Martinez now. The strike 3, Cora moving up to second base. So the Mariners now with runners at second and third and 1 out.
Yeah, and they may pitch very carefully to Edgar Martinez, then Buck Showalter would have to make a decision of bringing Howe in to face Tino Martinez. Steve Howe, the left-hander, has joined Whitman. Hitting coach, seated next to Buck Showalter.
2 balls. Now at 3-0 with first base open. Do you go ahead and put him on and bring on the left-handed pitcher?
Yeah, it's a situation where if I'm a pitcher, I want my manager to say, walk him or go after him. I mean, if you try to make that perfect pitch on the ACC, Buck is trying to get Mike Stanley's attention right now, and he gave him the 4. Yeah, go ahead and put him on. Don't try to strip it.
Edgar has walked intentionally. And that figures to end the evening for Blackjack McDowell, who was a bulldog here tonight.
Now, the other option, Brent, it's not necessarily a left versus left. You bringing Steve Howe in because Bob Whitman has an excellent sinking fastball. He's a ground ball pitcher, but it looks like Buck is going to... Now, here he comes.
Martinez, with his home run and his last at-bat, dictated this move. Buck was a little slow in coming out of the dugout because he wanted to give his bullpen just a little more time. It's now coming on.
Cold in August with the home runs after 10 in July. Blasts this one out to center field and regains a 2-run lead. 3-1 now. The Reds lead the Dodgers. The Indians and the Red Sox. Mike McFarland at the plate with the bases loaded, and he looks like he might have a hit, but Kenny lost it too quick to the spot. Winds up being just a sacrifice fly. Jefferson comes in. Hosey at the plate then. Slides this one down the line. It looks like it should have been a double, but Paul Sorrento comes up with a terrific play to save a run, and it's 4-1 Indians. Back to you.
An excellent play by Sorrento on that ball down the line, and here you are looking at Steve Howe. This is his first appearance in this divisional playoff, and he comes on against, Martinez as Jack McDowell. Pretty tough here tonight.
Pretty gritty effort, 5 1/3 innings after the 15-day layoff, but not the sharp Jack McDowell before the injury.
So Howe comes on against the left-handed hitter Tino Martinez. Bases are loaded. 1 Mariner out. Seattle 2, the Yankees 1. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning. The right-hander continues to get ready. This could be a one-man appearance for Howe. Line drive, base hit. It'll score only 1. It's 3-1 as Cora was forced to quickly retreat. An unsuccessful appearance for Steve Howe.
What a night for Tino Martinez. A perfect 3 for 3. The numbers tell you what happens in the past. He was 1 for 12 against Steve Howe. But Tino Martinez, a much improved hitter against left-hand pitching. Velarde charges it, plays it well, and Cora has to be held at third. And as you said, Brent, it was a one-hitter appearance. Wickman will be brought on to face Jay Buhner.
Jim, that has got to cause the Yankees some concern, because certainly Steve Howe has been rocky lately, and you need to be able to reach down in that bullpen in the playoffs and get the one out against a left-handed hitter. It's imperative. And we'll come back. The Mariners are up 3-1.
Are you lost in a financial jungle? What you need is someone who knows the ropes. Someone you can count on for advice and financial information. MetLife can help you tame the risks and help you make sense of it all. Get Met. It pays.
Okay, new rules. Individuals are no longer more important than the team.
You want a piece of that championship? Put it in here. Nobody can do it alone, but together we can do it.
Sports magazines include more team photos. More game balls go to linemen. Home runs start getting more press than holdouts. We pat someone on the butt when they fail and celebrate like madmen when they succeed. Starter is about team.
So Yankee manager Buck Showalter playing lefty-righty, but the percentage failed him that time when Steve Howe could not retire Tino Martinez. Martinez with 3 huge RBIs in this game, and now Bob Wickman, his second appearance in this championship series. Bases are still loaded, and you'll be looking at Jay Buhner, who has had a phenomenal year batting with the bases loaded, like several players around the major leagues. Not a guy you want up there with the sacks full. Sunday at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, it's a special edition of ABC's Wide World of Sports. Shannon Miller, our country's best, go head-to-head with the world's top stars. That's the World Gymnastics Championship. That's from Japan, and that'll be Sunday right here on ABC. 4 Eastern time, 1 Pacific, and here comes Jay Buhner.
You got low ball pitcher, low ball hitter, and that's why Buhner, in addition to those good numbers, is hitting .375 against Wickman. And if you're Wickman, you say you got to pitch him lower than low. Down around the shins, he needs a ground ball.
Infield back with 1 out. Buhner drills a base hit. Gerald Williams is up with it, and this will score only 1. Wickman. And
And you see Buhner go down and get that pitch just above the knees. Good situational hitters hitting by the Mariners. Martinez and Buhner with the bases loaded, both taking the ball the opposite way, making sure they stay out of the double play.
It's 4-1 Mariners. And you've got to feel that Randy Johnson doesn't need too many more. One out, bases loaded. Ground ball. The third baseman knocks it down. The throw to first is high and pulls Mattingly off the bag. So Russ Davis got in front of it. You're only left to wonder whether or not, had the ball gone through, Fernandez would have been able to make the force out. He would have had a cleaner shot at it. Fernandez with a couple of words now to Russ Davis as he goes past the youngster, and he may have told him exactly that.
Good effort by Davis to get to the ball, but once he bobbles it, tries in haste to make the strong throw, Mattingly has to make the leaping grab to keep it from going down the right field line. And I think right now, Buck Showalter, even though Flowers was given a charitable hit on that ground ball, looking ahead to tomorrow night, and you may not see Bob Wickman out there too long. Randy Johnson in command of this one, and Buck Showalter will not use his top relievers in a losing effort for more than a couple of hitters.
2 in the 5th, 3 here in the 6th. It's 5-1 Mariners. The bases are still loaded with only one man out. But Luis Sojo, the hero last Monday in that one-game elimination contest against the California Angels for the American League's Western Division Championship. Line drive into right field, and Gerald Williams, man, is tagging up. And he'll come on in with the run. Martinez scores another ball, gets away now. Wickman has to pick it up. And the runner, Jay Buhner, moves along to third base. Sacrifice fly for Sojo.
The catcher, Dan Wilson.
Boy, they sure do here in Seattle. And Gerald Williams, after the looping fly by Sojo, makes the strong throw, but it hits Tino Martinez. It appeared to be right on target, and it hits Martinez before Stanley can get the glove on it. Another run for the Mariners.
Wilson, the number 9 hitter, stands in against Wickman. It's 6-1, the Seattle lead, and now they're going to make an appeal at third base, and the third base umpire says no. He tagged up, did not leave too quickly.
And Morrison, the third base umpire. What the Mariners have done this inning is, I mean, it's a credit to Lee Elia, Lou Piniella, who works with the hitters, and their own ability. But bases loaded, the tendency sometimes is to try to pull the ball. All three, the 2 hits and the out that have produced runs, have been to the opposite field.
Two out. Mariner runners on at first and third. Flowers at first. Buhner's at third. Sharply hit over to the corner of the Yankee dugout. Again. In the last 30 minutes, the Seattle Mariners have held off winners. 0-2 and 2 out. 4-1 explosion.
And the concern now would be for the Mariners to watch Randy Johnson after the long half inning you just referred to. And to see what his control and rhythm are like when he takes the mound in the seventh.
Check swing. And the appeal. They say he did not go too far. There's a big fella who's going to be behind the plate. Come on.
Rocky Road, if this score holds. That's what Rocky Road's looking at. Was there intent to swing? And he said no. Wilson held up in time.
The ball and 2 strikes. Well, let's see. The Red Sox tonight are in danger of being eliminated. They trail Cleveland 4-1. The Dodgers are down a pair of runs. They must win that one. Colorado battling to stay alive. They're up 5-3. Here's Seattle up 6-1 on the Yankees. Wow, a lot of play, and it's beginning to look like we're going to have a Seattle doubleheader tomorrow. Don't forget the Washington Huskies and the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame.
Lou Piniella would like to stay away from Norm Charlton tonight. He would use him if necessary, but he would like to see the big unit close this one out for him and rest his bullpen.
Wilson battling away. Jimmy, it was a disastrous road trip out west the last time the Yankees came out here, but they did win the last game of it. Right here against the Mariners. Seemed to turn them around, start them off on a winning streak. But it has not been a good year for the New York Yankees when they come out to the West Coast.
Worst road trip they've had in their history, West Coast trip. Yeah, one of the big reasons when you look over past years is suddenly the West Coast teams are pretty good teams. The California Angels led the division most of the year, and then the Mariners take it away from them on the last day.
And that time, ask Rowe, he certainly seemed to go and did. A 4-run 6th inning. And we'll return with the divisional playoffs. The Yankees and the Mariners after this from our ABC station. Mariners 6, Yankees 1. And the Yankees still with 9 out. Did to stay alive against the American League's best this year. And if we move to a game 4, Scott Kamenicki for the Yankees, the expected starter. There's Chris Bosio in the background of your picture in the Mariner dugout. He started the first game, was not the pitcher of record. Worked 5 2/3 innings. Gave up 4 runs and 6 hits. Kamenicki has not yet pitched in this divisional series.
Scott Kamenicki pitched some big games down the stretch for the Yankees. Last couple weeks of the season. Here's the inning we were talking about in which Johnson has now fallen behind 3-1. The Yankees got the bases loaded the last inning, and he needed a strikeout to get out of it.
Crowd up again, 3-2. 12 strikeout, 3-hitter 3 days ago. Working on another 3-hitter here tonight with 8 strikeouts. The big unit off the target that time, and he has walked the leadoff hitter. John Saunders, what do you got for us in that other American League series?
Well, Brant, the Indians may just be unstoppable. This is still in the 6th inning. Wakefield is gone. Omar Vizquel with a little single here brings in 2 runs. And it's a 7-1 Cleveland lead. And Carlos Baerga, he finds the gap. That's a double, brings another run home, 8-1. And that's where it stands now. Cleveland is just rolling on their way to the sweep, 8-1 in the 6th. Brent and Jim.
All right, John, and here Davis, Yankee third baseman, steps in. Earl Williams having drawn a leadoff walk here to start the 7th inning. It's over at first base. The Yankees looking for a rally. Anything to get Johnson out of this game. There's one down the line. Just foul. Boy, Davis has turned on him a couple of times. He had a long foul ball into the seats in his first at bat before striking out. This one he hit sharply down the left field line, and Bill Risley is now up in the Mariners bullpen.
Hard-throwing right-hander who has pitched effectively for the Mariners here in the division series. And you can see the arm angle dropping down. I know Bobby Cuellar, the pitching coach, is looking at that. You know, usually Johnson lets that ball go somewhere between the shoulder and well up above his head. But now it's dropping down a little bit. Pitch is getting flat. That's the first sign of fatigue.
Spoken like a former pitching coach. Jim caught eye. Johnson slapped foul. You miss not being on the field, teaching youngsters how to pitch?
I like watching guys like this pitch.
Williams away from first. 2-2. Check swing, but he seemed to go, and yes, he did. Well, now it's time for tonight's Toyota Diamond Dust Baseball Fact. Don Mattingly made his postseason debut after 1,785 regular season games. Which Hall of Famer made his playoff debut with the A's in 1975 after 2,368 regular season games? I'm going to give you a hint, folks. It was not Ernie Banks, but he knows him well.
Yeah. And he's from Whistler, Alabama.
There you go. Everybody should get that now. So now it's Fernandez. The runner goes on the hit and run. Base hit for Fernandez, and Williams motors to third base.
A very un-Yankee-like move by Buck Showalter. But I think he realizes down 5, roll the dice and see what he can make happen. Yankees seldom use the hit and run, and Fernandez executes it perfectly, and if nothing else, the Yankees hoping as Piniella goes to the mound that they can get Johnson out of the game. Then when the right-hander comes in, O'Neill, Boggs, Deion James, even Darryl Strawberry would be available on that, coming off that Yankee bench. Asking him if he's all right after coming back on the 3 days rest. Nice at bat by Tony Fernandez. Taking it into right field. And Williams off with the pitch, even with Buhner's strong arm, gets to third base easily.
So the bottom of the Yankee lineup providing a rally here in the 7th inning with Kelly now standing in and 1 out against Johnson here in the 7th.
He's got about 130 in him, I think, for the night.
Got to play.
Good year for Pat Kelly in these situations. Missed a lot of it with the injured left wrist. Kind of a quiet apprehension right now with the Seattle fans. They too can sense that Johnson, after the long 6th inning, has come out here a little flat in the 7th.
2-1, and now 3-1.
Wonder what the Yankees are up against. Only one time this year have the Yankees lost a game in which Randy Johnson had the lead. The Oakland A's did it.
Phenomenal Mariner record, isn't it? Hit from Kelly to left field. Vince Coleman took a step back. Now he comes in. He is under it. Darrell Williams will tag up and score, and Coleman makes sure that Fernandez does not advance to second base. So, John Saunders, what's up?
Well, Brett, the Yankees trying to mount a comeback. So are the Braves against the Rockies. Munoz on to pitch, facing Mike Mordecai, and he blasts this one to the gap in left center field. Ryan Klesko comes in to score, makes it a 5-4 game, but Leskanic has gotten out of the inning still with the lead. 5-4, the Rockies up in the 8th. Brent and Jim.
Mike Mordecai thinks he's Reggie Jackson this October with 2 out and a Yankee runner on at first base. Top of the lineup now is Velarde. We look back at that critical base running mistake that he made following his last at bat at second base, or the Yankees might have put a few more runs on the board. Who knows? As we look back in time, 6-2 right now. Velarde stops one back.
And you can see Randy Velarde is trying to make up for that base running mistake with one swing. I mean, that was a leave the ball yard swing. 0 for 2 tonight, but he, as we pointed out at the beginning of the game, has been a .500 hitter against Randy Johnson. Good fastball hitter.
Johnson and the Mariners with 2 out. Fernandez, the base runner for the Yankees. 4-run Seattle lead. Gives it to him, and Velarde does not like that ball. He thought that pitch was down too low. That pitch may have been better than the previous one.
Joe Brinkman will keep you in suspense because everyone's kind of waiting and anticipating that delayed strike call that he uses. And Johnson comes with the breaking ball a little high.
Tough night at the office, and Johnson will look for K number 10.
Put it up. Oh, baby.
The big unit does it again. The Mariners are up 6-2. Bottom of the 7th inning, 6-2. The Mariners in a game they must win. We bring on another one. And now the answer to our quiz. You knew it all along. Which Hall of Famer made his playoff debut with the A's in '75? Billy Williams. What a sweet swing he had in Wrigley Field with the Cubs for a long, long time. He was some line drive hitter, wasn't he, Mr. Scott?
And not a bad long ball hitter either.
Yeah, he'd get him out of Wrigley, out from the confine. And now Vince Coleman will turn around here against the pitching change for the Yankees. Jimmy?
Sterling Hitchcock, who pitched again like Scott Kamenicki, pitched well as a starter. And the Bucks Showalter not wanting to use Bob Wickman anymore, save his relievers for what looks like Game 4. We'll try to get Hitchcock to pitch the last 2.
All in a strike. And again, you said an interesting thing. I asked you, where is Scott Kamenicki? We haven't seen him down in the dugout. You told me that a lot of the Yankees like to go back and watch television, scout the game, and take a look at the hitters that way. And I think that is very intelligent when you do that, because look at what you can see. This center field camera, I think, you can really study hitters this way.
Well, one pitcher's responsibility, and I'm sure a lot of teams do it, is to tape the game, tape the at-bats, and then the pitching coach, Nardi Contreras, and I'm sure Bobby Cuellar does the same for Seattle. They put a tape of all the at-bats together, and from that they would try to get a little tendency as to how to pitch Vince Coleman. Sterling Hitchcock, one of 2 young left-handers the Yankees have. Andy Pettitte started Game 2 that have reached double-digit victories. That hasn't happened for a long time.
I got a question. How come so many grungy caps? I mean, can't this franchise, one of the greatest in the history of sport, afford new caps? I know there's a story behind it.
Those are those good perspiration stains that Sterling Hitchcock and John Wetland feature. Their badge of honor. mentioned the football game tomorrow. This has a football game-like atmosphere when you hear the chants the crowds get into here at Kingdome.
The Seahawks would die for this crowd right now. 3-2. They played a little bit better lately, too. Coleman line drive, center field, base hit for Vince on one hop as he turns it around now. After his triple, which started that 4-run explosion, he singles here.
Led off last inning with a triple. The Mariners scored 4. This is a line drive base hit to center field. We mentioned earlier, Coleman and Charlton, along with Andy Bennis, those acquisitions are what helped the Mariners win the West. And Lou Piniella, I'm sure, will use the running game with Cora at the plate to try to get that run back that the Mariners gave up.
Yeah, you hate to see the tying run come to the plate in a bases-loaded situation. So 5 is the one that Lou Piniella would love to be sitting on here if he can get it. Throw over by Hitchcock, and Coleman goes back. I believe when you look at the numbers, Vince Coleman also is a much better base stealer on a carpet than he is on grass. He's just so much comfortable starting now. He edges off that dirt, keeps his left foot on the dirt, right foot on the carpet. Mattingly comes off with him. That's how the Yankees work that pickoff play. Mattingly will come off, and then he will dart back, and he's very effective. I heard, Jimmy, I heard someone, I don't know where I heard this day. Someone said that's a box, when that's not a box. Only the pitcher can box.
Right. Well, Sterling Hitchcock has an excellent move, but Mattingly sometime will try to influence the runner. He's not doing it in this case. There's Coleman with that lead foot on the turf.
He's got their attention.
Yeah, Hitchcock, though he has a deceptive move, is one of the easiest pitchers in the league to steal against, and that's unusual for a left-hander. Most lefties are pretty good at holding runners close, but Hitchcock has a rather slow leg kick, and Coleman is trying to time it right now.
Going to Cora's body right in front of the plate, and it's a good one. As Coleman moves up on the sacrifice, that'll bring up Griffey, who's 0 for 3 tonight.
Center fielder, Griffey Jr.
You know, looking at Vince Coleman out there at second base, I'm really happy that he has resurrected his career after that stupid childish stunt down there involving the firecracker and whatever happened, got thrown at the fan or who wasn't involved. But I'm always glad when somebody realizes you've got a second chance, you turn it around. He's participated in civic events and hinting like he might slip up on the pitcher. Now Fernandez makes him come back. But it's good to see someone with a second chance make the most of it, as he obviously has here in the Seattle area.
He is a pretty good threat if he wants to steal third base. With Ken Griffey Jr., even though Griffey's hitting against a left-hander, he might not be quite as apt to as if, say, the number 8 hitter was in the batter's box. He is getting a huge lead against Hitchcock.
Fernandez aware. Trying to get him a step closer, and Griffey holding up on that pitch.
Yeah, this is what speed does. See, Sterling Hitchcock is very concerned with Coleman. I think Tony Fernandez probably coming in right now with some words of either about the pickoff play or make sure you pick up the target and go after Griffey. Yes, Coleman can steal a base, but Griffey can take you out of the yard if you leave one over the plate.
A huge gap at that hole at shortstop. If Griffey can slap one the opposite way, because Fernandez is concerned about Coleman being kept close to second base. Hitchcock not giving him an opportunity to go that way by keeping the pitch in and side on Griffey.
Don't see many left-handers get the green light with 3-0. Batting champion in the on-deck circle. I still think he'll swing if he gets one he likes.
Didn't like it. John Saunders, there's excitement in Cincinnati. What's up?
Well, Brent, he didn't like that one, but Mark Lewis certainly liked this offering from Mark Guthrie. The bases are loaded, but not for long. Grand slam breaks the game wide open, 3-1 to 7-1. The Reds looking for the sweep in the sixth. Back to Brent and Jim.
All right, John, so it looks like the Reds are going to sweep their way into the National League Championship Series. They will be a huge factor if Atlanta as expected. The Reds will play the Braves real tough in that next leg. And here the Mariners trying to battle back against the Yankees. The Indians are well on their way to the American League Championship Series. One of the things now that you've got to think about, if the Indians close out the Red Sox, they get to go home, put their feet up, and they hope that these two go 5 games and again get short a pitcher with a quick turnaround on a Tuesday start. Could happen, ladies and gentlemen. 0-1 now. There they go. Coleman's off, and they won't get him. Coleman ran into a big out in that one-game shootout with California with a left-handed hitter up. He had a great jump this time. No chance.
Yeah, Coleman has seen enough of Sterling Hitchcock's leg kick. As soon as that leg came up, Mike Stanley had no chance. And Griffey with the easy steal on the back end. And now they'll put Edgar Martinez on and go after Tino Martinez.
And Tino Martinez has killed him tonight with 3 RBIs. He hit a 2-run home run, 2 other singles. But with 1 out, he'll set up an opportunity here for a double play. There is nobody working, and of course he gets the percentage of the left-handed pitcher.
Well, that's
on the mound right now.
That's the strength of this Seattle lineup for Lou Piniella. You don't often double steal, and give Edgar Martinez that up for a left-hand hitter to come out. But Tino Martinez handles lefties well.
I have one comment about the wild card, Jimmy, that I want to make to you. What took them so long? I mean, there's nothing like playoff baseball. You've got an aggressive approach with a 4-run lead. You don't always see that in the regular season. The fans are loving it.
What it has done in this city during the month of September is unbelievable, when all these September games have been so meaningful. That's Nardi Contreras, Yankee pitching coach, just with a few words of counsel to Sterling Hitchcock. Well, they've seen Tino Martinez take the ball down and in for a base hit. They've seen him take it up for a home run, down and away. And Nardi's probably saying, let's see if we can come up with a way to pitch to Martinez.
I have a painful memory of a 5-game series that turned around. You're going to remember it well.
1982?
The Chicago Cubs.
Oh, 84.
Took a quick lead on San Diego. Took a 2-game lead. Jetted down to San Diego. I can still see Steve Garvey's home run disappearing into the night. And the Padres swept back and went to the World Series against Detroit, and Sparky Anderson falls away and loose, and not realizing it at the time, Vince Coleman did not break down the line, and I'm kind of surprised that Tino was telling him to come. The ball was not that far away from Stanley.
He's overestimating Vince Coleman's speed. It hops away. You see Tino Martinez, come on, but Coleman does not react quickly enough.
I should say not. Bases loaded. They're tied now. The crowd at the Kingdome tonight, 57,944. Standing room in that outfield early tonight, in to watch batting practice. The crowd on its feet, bases loaded, 1 out, 2 balls on Tino Martinez, who slaps one the opposite way. Velarde will make the play. Coleman bluffs, but he's not coming. Throws over the catcher's hat, away from the pitcher, and now Coleman's going to score easily. Oh, baby, what a bad throw.
And Randy Velarde, who has been so steady for the Yankees, not having a good night in all phases of the game. Tough night at the plate, tough night running the bases, and now the overthrow over Sterling Hitchcock gives the Mariners a 5-run lead. And every one of these runs very important to Lou Piniella, because he probably will take Randy Johnson out of this game and turn it over to the bullpen. There's Velarde's strong throw, too strong, and airmails everyone.
Jimmy, you know, that could be so huge because, and again, we're jumping way ahead and we're just projecting things that may or may not happen. The Yankees come out tomorrow night and score 12 runs on Fazio for all we know. But if you can get Johnson at least a little rest tonight, it's with so many left-handed hitters over there in that Yankee lineup, you can envision down the line that you would go to him and say, look, I got Wade Boggs, I got Don Mattingly, you know, you're in the 8th and 9th inning of Game 5. Can you pitch me the one man? I mean, yeah, you'd hate to do it, but maybe in that situation, who knows?
There's a man that thinks it'll happen, Buck Showalter. He's coming out to make a pitching change. He thinks if this goes 5 games, that's exactly what will happen. And Lou Piniella would bring Randy Johnson in a late game situation to wrap it up if necessary.
Well, here's a young man who was very impressive. You had to like what you saw from him the other night. Well, we got an opportunity. Let's check in on some of the ABC programming. But Jimmy, you were saying that Rivera, who was so impressive the other night in his one-game appearance, worked 3 1/3 innings, gave up a couple of hits, but he struck out 5, and you indicated it was a live arm. You could bring him right back.
And it's probably just a situation where Buck Showalter will ask him to try to close out this inning, and then you may see Bob McDonald in the next inning, and Lou Piniella, they're shaking hands with the big unit, and Lou Piniella with the 5-run lead feels comfortable turning it over to Bill Risley and Norm Charlton if necessary. And in fact, if you could almost read Lou Piniella's lips, and he said, and we might be able to have him for Sunday. I think I saw him say that.
Right fielder,
Lou Piniella is such a good fella, and hey, you and Lou Piniella may be the only 2 guys in the world who would ask me, what's Thunder Gulch going to do against the Parker tomorrow?
Big race tomorrow.
Everybody interested in that race back in New York. That'll be some showdown. I don't know if that younger horse can pick off Cigar. It's going to be tough, huh, Jimmy? 7-2 the score now. Jay Buhner steps in here.
Former Yankees involved in this division series for the Mariners.
Well, here's a fellow that George Steinbrenner says he hated to lose, was Jay Buhner. Kenny Phelps, that's who they acquired, wasn't it, from...
And the Mariner fans can thank Ken Griffey Jr. He's the one that went to the front office, and he's hit that bullseye a few times and said, we need Buhner on this club if we're going to win. Sign him.
1-1. Buhner with a high fly. Bernie Williams calls for it in center field, and that's going to do it. But the Mariners get that run back. They lead it by 5. It is 7-2, but if you go back to the 6th inning, the Yankees were batting, and they were behind 2-1, and Randy Johnson was able to strike out Don Mattingly, and here is the MCI proof positive replay of the night. Randy Johnson done with 10 Ks on the night, gave the Yankees 4 hits, and that was the moment. Our MCI proof positive replay.
And the amazing thing about Randy Johnson, Brent, is most of those strikeouts were on that breaking ball. There's Bill Risley. He'll get a lot of them with his fastball. He averages over a strikeout an inning. That's his numbers 45 games during the season.
Bernie Williams, who has had a heck of a night. A couple of hits, including a home run, walk, stolen base. What a bright future this young man has. New York Yankees out there in center field, away out of it. The Yankees with an outstanding center field.
Seems like in all sports they have that, they call it the breakout year. That's what this has been for Bernie Williams. He has really improved, especially from this side of the plate as a switch hitter. He's improved as a left-handed hitter. Most of his power is from the right side.
A chance to attack a Ridley fastball here, down 5, 8th inning. He does. Back, and it is out of here. Williams' second home run of the night. He has their full attention over there in the Mariner dugout.
Wow, you talk about a player after having a successful regular season, even taking it a little higher. That's Bernie Williams. 3 for 3 with a walk and 2 home runs, 1 from each side of the plate.
That'll put him in the record book.
Got that Risley fastball. And again, the Yankees up and down the lineup can hit the fastball as well as any team.
There's a lot of left-handed hitters over there. Stanley now hits one deep, and Buhner goes back, and he'll watch this one go out. The Yankees are battling back here in the 8th with back-to-back home runs off Risley. A 5-run lead is down to 3, and hang on. The Yankee bench against Lou Piniella loaded with left-handed power, and Piniella livid about this turn of events.
Well, he's sending Dan Wilson out to talk to Bill Risley, not the plan that Piniella had in mind, because looking ahead, if there is a game tomorrow night, Chris Bosio, because of the knee surgery, can go about 5 innings, and his body kind of blows out on him. So Charlton, the lefty, and Nelson, the righty, that's who Piniella wanted to hold back for tomorrow's game, and now they might be pressed into service tonight.
He was hoping that Charlton wouldn't even have to get up down that bullpen. That's what he wanted. Because even if Charlton doesn't come into the game, he's going to throw some pitches down that line down there. Remember, his longest stint of the year was in that 15-inning run with the Coleman back in Yankee Stadium. And now turning around, Irvin Serra takes a strike. The Yankees are only 3 runs down here in the 8th inning. It's 7-4 after the back-to-back home runs by Bernie Williams and Stanley.
You see Bodge with bat in hand, and you can bet Paul O'Neill will be joining him. They'll be ready to hit after Mattingly.
One may have hurt Wilson. Shook him up just a moment. Ground ball to short. Sojo off with it. And the first out of the inning. Jimmy without the error on the part of Velarde. This might be a 2-run game.
And that would be important for Buck Showalter, because any base runner now, you send Paul O'Neill or Darryl Strawberry up, and they become the potential tying run. And because of that Mariner run in the bottom of the 7th, the Mariners have 1 more run to play with.
No one is happier to be looking out there and not seeing Randy Johnson than Matty. It is amazing that throughout his career, more than 40 at-bats coming into this game, Johnson had struck him out only twice. And tonight he fanned him 3 times. Three-run game, 7-4. to the on-deck circle. Count 2 balls and a strike. O'Neill gets ready. Two strikes and 1 out. Count is full on Mattingly. Grizzly ready again.
Each one of these pitches and at-bats a plus for Buck Showalter. The more Piniella can use his bullpen tonight, even if the Mariners win, would help the Yankees tomorrow night.
Battling back, 3-2 now. Mattingly hanging tough.
Surprising, but that's never happened. Unusual that it would happen 3 times, but credit that to Randy Johnson.
We have some drama in Atlanta. Let's quickly go to John Saunders. John?
Critical situation. Braves trailing the Rockies 5-4. 1 on, 1 out. Lopez to face Darren Holmes. Let's take out for bonus coverage to Fulton County Stadium.
Pete Van Wert along with Larry Durker welcoming you to Atlanta for the close of this game. Those of you who have been watching other games, it's 5-4 Rockies. A runner at first, 1 out. Lopez the batter, Darren Holmes the pitcher, 1-1 the count. Colorado trying to send this to a 4th game. Darren Holmes, the 6th pitcher to work tonight for the Rockies. Throwing to first, Presco back safely. Here's the 1-1. Little looping fly ball, shallow right field. Walker coming on, diving try, did not come up with it. Heading for third is Presco. Runners at first and third. Walker got to the ball, got a glove on it, but couldn't quite hang on. And Atlanta now with runners first and third, 1 man out. Mike Mordecai the batter. He did not get much of a pitch to hit here. That wasn't even a strike. That was a foot outside, right off the end of the bat. Great effort here by Larry Walker, but he trapped the ball. And Ryan Plesko with the play in front of him there. Gets all the way around to third. Mordecai delivered a big run-scoring pinch hit single in Game 2 to win the game for Atlanta, give them the go-ahead run. He had a pinch hit double and stayed in the game here. We're in the bottom half of the 9th inning in Atlanta. Colorado leading at 5-4. But Atlanta has runners at first and third with 1 out. 1 ball, no strikes on Mordecai. Ooh, Holmes almost balked there. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Right through there for a call strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Luis Polonia has moved on deck. Wesco, the potential tying run at third. Lopez, a potential winner at first. Breaking ball outside. 2-1 to Mordecai. Thinking, not again. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Trying to bank and foul it off to the right. The 2-2 pitch to Mordecai, a little bit low. And that fills the count 3-2. Luis Polonia waiting in the on-deck circle. No activity in the Rockies bullpen. The fake throw to third, the look back to first. We're in the bottom half of the 9th inning in Atlanta. Colorado leading it 5-4, but Atlanta has runners at first and third, 1 out. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Fly ball hit out to shallow left field. Bichette coming on, makes the catch. Klesko's coming halfway down, going back. And that's a big second out for Darren Holmes. And now Don Baylor is going to come out to the mound, not to make a change this time, but probably to review the scouting report on Luis Polonia, who will come on to pinch hit for Greg McMichael. Polonia coming over from the Yankees. Hit .264 for Atlanta. Fly ball hit the shallow left field. Bichette making the catch. Klesko going about almost halfway down before putting on the brakes and coming back. Ted Turner thought it was deep enough. Not quite. 2 men out. Here's Polonia. Runners at first and third. The Rockies need 1 more out to send this to a 4th game tomorrow night. The pitch to Polonia. 0-1. Polonia as a pinch hitter for Atlanta this year was 8 for 18. A .444 pinch hit average. The 0-1 pitch. Fouled away. The count 0-2. Billy Swift worked the first 6 innings of this game. Left with a 5-4 lead. A gutsy performance by the starting pitcher for the Rockies with that ailing shoulder. And now if Darren Holmes can get 1 more out, Billy Swift will be the first Colorado pitcher to ever win a postseason game. 0-2 on Polonia. First and third, 2 outs. 5-5, bottom of the 9th. Lopez at second. The 0-1 pitch to Grissom fouled off the count, 0-2. That was an 0-2 pitch that Polonia hit into left field for the base hit to tie up this game. And you see the reaction of Luis Polonia. with 2 outs in the 9th inning. He's at first. Lopez, a potential winning run, down at second. The 0-2 pitch to Marquise Grissom. Ground ball. Cutting hop. Walt Weiss has it. Goes to second in time for the force. But the Atlanta Braves, rebounding again in the 9th inning, have tied this game up. We go to extra innings in Atlanta.
So they go overtime down in Atlanta with Colorado needing a win to stay alive. Here, the Mariners need a win, but they've got a 3-run lead. 7-4, and Flowers is the hitter here, Jim Cott. And right now, a little unease over in that Mariner dugout while folks were away. We had a little rematch between O'Neill and Charlton. They brought him out of the bullpen, and this time it was Charlton.
Blew the fastball by him, but again, Lou Piniella, with the lead cut down to 3, having to go to Charlton a little earlier than he wanted to. As you mentioned, he didn't want to go to him at all. Well, there's some Yankee fans, Brent, that enjoyed watching that game-tying hit by the Atlanta Braves, because that's Louis Polonia, who was the Yankee left fielder when the season started.
He's a big factor in this success story. As he moves on, they juggle the top of the lineup. And of course, Bernie Williams slamming 2 home runs here tonight. And that's the first out at the bottom of the 8th inning. Again, it is 7-4. The Mariners with a 3-run lead on the Yankees, and we're in the bottom of the 8th inning.
And now that the Yankees climb within 3, Buck Showalter going to stay with Mariano Rivera and try to keep it that way.
So here is young Rivera with a live arm, and he got help on that one. Sojo swinging at one that was out of the zone. Luis Sojo is filled in at shortstop. There's a fellow over on the Mariner bench who is the shortstop of the future, Alex Rodriguez. Line drive, but right at Kelly for the second out. What's interesting about Rodriguez, I was watching the batting practice, first time I've seen the young man. Jimmy, he's as big as Cal Ripken.
Yeah. He is 6'3", couple hundred pounds, really filled out. There's young Alex Rodriguez in the middle of your picture. And the Yankees have their young phenom shortstop with them, not on the active roster, but watching. And Derek Jeter, very similar. Jeter's 6'3", and he's going to be as big as Rodriguez.
But Danny Wilson steps in now against Rivera. He changed balls with umpire Brinkman now behind the plate. You know, it's interesting when you get an outstanding pitcher like Randy Johnson, who was struggling, let's face it, with the plate umpire. They somehow find a way to get it done. The good ones always do. Oof, that was good pitch.
That's what Rivera has impressed American League managers and hitters with. He has, like Mark Wohlers down in Atlanta, that easy gas. He has a nice, easy, slow motion, and then zip, ball gets on you in a hurry.
Now, if we want to look ahead to the 9th inning for the Yankees, Russ Davis, Fernandez, and Kelly, the bottom of the order. But remember, I was about to say remember Boggs and Strawberry, but also remember Charlton throws to the left arm. So they've been able to offset that a little bit as Rivera knocks them down in order, and the Yankees will be coming up in the 9th inning, trailing at 7-4. This 1995 Division Series game brought to you by Burger King, where you can get your burger's worth. MetLife, get Met, it pays, and the makers of Advil. Nice to have you along with us. And Jim Cox, you had a very interesting point on how Charles was able to come in here and resurrect his career with the Mariners.
Yeah, when he was in Philadelphia earlier this year.
Davis on a ground ball. Flowers has it. On the tag, he said he got him. Whoa, got him. I was a little premature. That throw pulled Tino off the bag, but he got the tag on Davis. Jimmy?
Well, Davis did the best thing he could. Flowers knows he has a lot of time, and he aims it over there. And that pulls Martinez off the bag. Davis alertly with a head-first slide, but Martinez tagged him on the hip before the hand got to the bag.
Fernandez. Yankees down 3. Need base runners here at the bottom of the order to get back to Bernie Williams if they can.
Talking about Norm Charlton, Brent, yes, he started the season with Philadelphia, and he was one of those one hitter at a time. He'd come in, face a hitter, whether he got him out or didn't, Then Jim Fregosi would replace him, bring in another pitcher. Charlton wasn't bitter about it. That's just the way it was used. He came over here, and he went down the bullpen. Pinella saw him throw 8 pitches. He said, run up and sign before you change your mind. I can use you. What he's done with him is use him an inning, 2 innings. Now he's had a chance to build up some arm strength.
The right field. And Buhner's got the put out. 2 outs. And now the Mariners are 1 out from Game 4. We'll have it for you tomorrow night at 7 Eastern Time, 4 Pacific. It'll be the New York Yankees with Scott Kamenicki. And for the Seattle Mariners, it'll be Chris Bosio. The Yankees will hold a 1-game lead as New York is down to its last out here.
That's been a banner that we've seen throughout this city. Refuse to lose has been the Seattle battle cry.
So they will try to keep New York alive, and Charlton is right past him.
Randy Johnson has done a lot of things, Brent. He's put himself in a special category again. First pitcher to strike out 10 Yankees postseason since '64, Gibson.
Pretty good company right there. 1 strike away. The crowd's going to take you home. 1 ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs. The Mariners stay alive. A quick final word coming up in a moment. The game is Randy Johnson. In conjunction with this program, Chevrolet will contribute a total of $50,000 to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. The names of all the players of the game for the 1995 Major League Baseball season. So the Mariners force a Game 4 in this divisional playoff. They beat the New York Yankees, and they do it 7-4, the final score here tonight in the Kingdom. Meanwhile, we get an update from Colorado, Atlanta. In the 11th inning, the Rockies have jumped ahead 7-5. They have exploded down there in the 11th inning. Now they are in the 10th inning. Let me correct that right now. It's the 10th inning. 10th inning right now, 7-5. Now, let me remind you that we're going to be back tomorrow night. Major League Baseball's Divisional Playoff Series, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, here on ABC Sports. For Jim Cott, I'm Brent Musburger. So long, everybody.